Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best day movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an honor and a privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me here, a bunch of digital friends talking about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good stuff. Look, we got a bunch of things to talk about today. We're going to go kind of in depth into the TJ Miller thing. You're going to hear it talked about in the movie news feed, but we're going to go more in depth about that in just a little bit. We're going to be talking about the Batgirl has a new screenwriter, but is that good news or bad news? We got a new segment of what we're watching sent in by you guys and a whole bunch of other good stuff. But before we get to any of that, let's go right off the top with this. Of course, Avengers Infinity War is coming out now. The 27th is getting closer and closer and closer. We're all very excited. Now, Fandango has just put out this press statement saying that not only is Avengers Infinity War doing really good and is its top, MCU advanced ticket sales, Fandango is now saying that Avengers Infinity War is outselling at this point the last 7 MCU films combined, including Black Panther, Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man Homecoming, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Doctor Strange, Captain America Civil War, and Ant-Man. According to Fandango, remember, this is only for Fandango, but Fandango is claiming that Avengers Infinity War is outpacing all those 7 films combined at this point. They also made a mention in that press release that is now their #1 advanced selling film for the month of April. I think the previous record holder was a Fast and the Furious film. So they said it's now the #1 thing for April and is easily the highest advanced selling ticket sales for a superhero film of all time. Now, of course, I always kind of mention this whenever advanced ticket records come up. We're in a transition period right now where more and more people are buying advanced tickets than before. So we're going to see this advanced ticket sales record broken several times over the next little while until it becomes more of a normal thing for most average film goers. But still, it's really interesting to point out. An interesting thing to point out, though, it's still not selling as many advanced tickets as Star Wars The Force Awakens. So that's an interesting little asterisk and side note to have on the side for us to keep in mind as we move forward. But, I mean, look. Oh, sorry, this side. This is going to be huge. This film is going to be huge. I get to see it on the 23rd. I cannot wait. I am counting down the days. All right, guys. Like I said, we got a few things to talk about here. But before we get into depth and go into more depth in some of these topics, I want to make sure that you guys are caught up to date on all the stuff going on in the world of movie news. So this is a little segment we call the Movie News Feed. First up, actor TJ Miller is again in the news for all the wrong reasons. Following reports that he assaulted a woman and was subsequently expelled from George Washington University, now comes word that he's been arrested for allegedly falsely reporting a woman was carrying a bomb on a train. Variety reports the following. An Amtrak attendant said Miller had been removed from the train in New York because he was intoxicated. The attendant also advised that Miller had been involved in hostile exchanges with a woman who was sitting in a different row from him in the first-class car. The complaint alleges that Miller, motivated by a grudge against the same female, called 911 to relay false information about a bomb on the train. TJ Miller is now facing charges that carry a maximum of up to 5 years in prison. I wonder if there's an emoji for that. Next up, despite some on-again, off-again comments we've heard over the past couple of years, James Bond actor Daniel Craig has confirmed that his next project is indeed the 25th installment of the James Bond franchise. The film will mark the actor's 5th appearance in the legendary role and presumably, probably, his last. It was previously reported that Danny Boyle, the Oscar-winning director of Slumdog Millionaire, will direct the film. Craig made his first appearance as Bond in the 2006 film Casino Royale, which he later followed up with Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, and the most recent film, Spectre. There's still no details on the next film nor a title, but there are reportedly 2 separate scripts being worked on for Boyle to choose from. Next up, Golden Globe winning actor Damien Lewis, best known for his roles in shows like Homeland and Billions, has just signed on to portray former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford in an upcoming film titled Run This Town. From coming soon, the film supposedly follows a reporter who attempts to expose a scandal involving a politician, Ford, who doesn't play by the rules. Ford's aides, played by Vampire Diaries' Nina Dobrev, and upcoming live-action Aladdin star Mina Massoud, try their best to handle him and keep the story suppressed. The story is said to take place against the backdrop of Ford's last year as Toronto mayor. As somebody who lived in the Toronto area, I can tell you this was one of the most embarrassing moments of our political existence. Next up, as most of you know, Apple is actively preparing to get into the TV show space in a big way, and they've just taken their next big step. According to Engadget, Apple has added yet another TV series to its ever-growing lineup. The latest addition is an ambitious project headed by David S. Goyer, of course from Blade and Batman Begins fame, that will adapt Isaac Asimov's Foundation series. Foundation centers on Hari Seldon, a psychohistorian who has developed a way to predict the future. He foresees the collapse of the Galactic Empire as well as a subsequent Dark Age, and he sets out to ensure humanity's knowledge isn't lost. Foundation adaptations have been attempted for both TV and the big screen, and they've been abandoned due to the complexity of the novel's storylines. Fox, Warner Brothers, Sony, and HBO all have scrapped Foundation projects over the last few years. Let's see if Apple can actually get it off the ground. And finally, Melissa McCarthy has just signed on to star in the 4th film with her husband, Ben Falcone, as her director in Superintelligence. McCarthy will play Carol Peters, a former corporate executive whose earnest yet unfulfilled life is turned upside down when she is selected for observation by the world's first superintelligence, an artificial intelligence that may or may not be trying to take over the world. McCarthy and Falcone have worked together as an actor/director pair in 3 other films, including Tammy in 2014, The Boss in 2016, and the upcoming Life of the Party. Tammy and The Boss weren't all that good, so here's hoping that Life of the Party and this new one, Superintelligence, can turn that around. When she's on her game, Melissa McCarthy is one of the funniest women in the business, just not so much in the movies that her husband directs her. And that'll do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed. And there you have it, guys. You are now all caught up on all the stuff going on in the world of movie news. Now, guys, it's time for us to get to the main topics today. And by the way, the main topics are submitted by you guys. How do you get in a question or a topic to be on the John Campea Show? It's simple. You email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put that word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. All right, let's get this thing kicked off here with the headline story, I guess you could say. And this one comes to us from Patreon supporter Ali Hussein, who writes, "Hey John, love your show. I just read in Variety that Christina, you wrote Hudson, but it's actually Hodson, Hodson's screenwriter of Bumblebee, has taken over to do the right for the new script for Batgirl. To be honest, I don't believe that movie is going to happen. Love to hear your thoughts." All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And we actually mentioned this little piece of news on the Movie News feed a couple of days ago, that this screenwriter, Christina Hodson, has taken over the Batgirl project as the writer. Now, of course, Joss Whedon was for a long time attached to be the writer and director, and he, of course, infamously, as it's seemingly all DC writers and directors do, he left, and now she's on board. The question is this good or bad news that she's on board to direct this? Because there are a couple of, number one, it's good news in one way because it means they're still looking at trying to do a Batgirl film, which I think would be an interesting character to do one on. I'm not jumping out of my skin for a Batgirl movie, but it's an interesting idea, and I think that's kind of cool. However, she's doing Bumblebee. Who knows? Maybe Bumblebee will be great. Maybe it'll be fantastic. Maybe it'll be wonderful. However, she also did Unforgettable with Katherine Heigl and Rosario Dawson last year. That was one of the worst films of the year. Like, absolutely one of the worst films of the year. And her only other major feature film credit that she has before that is a movie she did with Naomi Watts, which was called Shut In, which is almost worse than Unforgettable. So on the one hand, hey, DC hasn't given up on the Batgirl thing. Yay! On the other hand, they got the screenwriter who did Unforgettable and Shut In. And I'm like, really? So I don't know, guys. Good news or bad news? You jump into the comments section. You tell me, is this overall good news or is this overall bad news? I want to hear what you guys think. Jump down there and let me know. All right, next up. This one comes to us from Orrice Magee, who writes, "Hey, John. I believe a movie's trailer, marketing, and reviews determines how much it makes on opening weekend. And the content and quality of the movie itself determines how much it can make in the overall box office, along with its longevity. Would you say that this theory proves true? Thanks. Well, this is a discussion that comes up every once in a while, and it's sort of yes, sort of no. I mean, you mentioned that marketing and previews is what goes into the opening weekend, and for the most part, that's true. A movie making big money opening weekend does not mean the movie's good. It just means that the marketing was good, it appealed, it had a good idea, and there's a lot of people interested in seeing it. It doesn't necessarily mean the movie was good. Just like I tell people, when a movie has a terrible opening weekend, that doesn't mean the movie wasn't good. It's just that maybe the marketing didn't interest people and people didn't go out to see if it was good or not, right? So anyway, but talking about quality, I mean, look, if you're going to say reviews have something to do with opening weekend, that speaks to the quality a little bit too. So it's a little bit of a mishmash a bit. Jump down to the comment section. Tell me, how do you guys see it? What differentiates the opening weekend success versus the longevity success, and which elements go into contributing to those two individual pieces of success or failure as the case may be? Let me know what you guys think. All right, now let's get on to the headline issue here. And the third topic today comes to us from Rich Madagoska, who writes, "So I'm reading about this TJ Miller situation. Apparently he acted like an ass on a train, arguing with a woman. The train threw him off, and then he calls in and reports the woman had a bomb on her. This combined with what happened with him at that university, I'm starting to wonder if enough is enough with this guy. I think is what you're trying to say. I think he's a really funny dude, and I miss him already on SV. I'm not sure what SV is. But at what point do we recognize we're dealing with a dick? Too late to replace him in Deadpool 2? Oh, and SV is probably Silicon Valley. So already missed him on Silicon Valley, but at what point do we recognize we're dealing with a dick? Is it too late to replace him in Deadpool 2? All right. Let me say right off the top here with the TJ Miller situation. I think this is a ridiculously entertaining dude. I think he is monstrously entertaining. And I remember the first time I had a chance to meet TJ Miller was at a press junket for Big Hero 6. And he was funny and engaging and like a really good guy to interview. You have some really good people to interview. Some people don't give you such a good time at your interview. TJ Miller made it a good time. He's a really funny dude. I really like seeing him and stuff. I think he's tremendously talented, and I am entertained by him when I watch him, which is the highest compliment you can give to an entertainer. However, we've had several situations with TJ Miller now. Now, of course, this newest one here is that he called in a fake bomb threat. We're going to talk about that in a second. But let's not forget about the whole situation with him just recently, like about a year and a half ago. He assaulted an Uber driver. And then even before that, we had the whole situation where he was accused of sexually assaulting and physically assaulting a woman. And according to reports, the university actually let him graduate and then ceremonially they kicked him out of the school. They expelled him after graduation. So they kind of did a little bit of two things here. We're dealing with a situation with a guy who looks more and more a bit unstable. Let's talk about this bomb threat situation for a second, okay? I've already seen some people talking online about how, what's the big deal? He called in a prank. What's the big deal? He called in a prank. Are you fucking kidding me? Do you know how many ways this could have gone really bad? In New York City, which has a little bit of a history with terrorist attacks, in New York City, you call in a bomb threat. Do you know how many ways that could have gone bad? Do you know how many people could have gotten really hurt or killed over creating a situation like that? Now, according to the reports, he gets on this train, he's belligerent, maybe a bit intoxicated, he starts arguing with this woman, he becomes such a distraction, the Amtrak officials throw him off the train. So he's so pissed off about it, he goes home, dials 911, describes the woman he's arguing with, saying she's carrying a bomb. That could have gone so badly. You're sending in now armed people down there with a scared population, and anybody makes the wrong... I mean, this could have gone so bad. This is so much more than just some little prank. All right, this could have been brutal. Now, also let me say this. Let me throw up a giant asterisk here, okay? You and I, do not know all the facts. We know the number of facts that are being reported, but we don't necessarily know all the facts. It is completely conceivable that tomorrow some new facts may arise that will change our perception of this entire situation. Let's keep that in mind as we're discussing this, okay? That it is possible that tomorrow new facts could come out that could change our entire perception of this. And maybe TJ doesn't look bad in this at all. Granted. However, all we have are these facts, so we're left to speculate and talk about the facts that we do have. And based on the facts that we have, TJ Miller is looking more and more like somebody I would never want to work with. And here's what I mean by that. If I'm a Hollywood producer, right, I think TJ Miller's a tremendously talented dude. And it's not my place to punish him for things that he does. But if I'm a Hollywood producer and I've got a big movie coming up, I'm going to ask myself this. If I cast TJ Miller in my movie, 3 months before my movie comes out, is my movie going to be facing a PR nightmare because of something else that this guy does again offset and away from camera? Am I going to be facing my own Kevin Spacey situation with all the money in the world? Am I going to be facing a situation like that? Am I going to be facing a situation where this guy's off-camera antics are going to affect my business and affect my movie? And on that basis alone, I'm not casting him in anything I'm doing, to be honest with you. You know, a week before my movie opens, I don't want the headline stories to be TJ Miller arrested for assaulting a McDonald's employee. I don't want the headlines 2 weeks before my movie's coming out. I want the headlines to be about how great my movie's going to be, not TJ Miller physically assaults an Uber driver. TJ Miller calls in fake bomb threat. That's not what I want my headlines to be. And right now we are dealing with a dude who has shown again and again and again that he may become a distraction from your movie. He could become a liability to your movie even though it's not on the movie set. And on that basis, I don't know that I'm casting this guy again. At least not until he can go like 3 or 4 years without causing any problems. I would love to use him in my movie. I think this dude is ridiculously awesome on camera. But at the same time, if he's going to become a liability to my project, and again, dude, what if somebody got shot during this bomb scare that he caused? Seriously, think about that. Like, this could have been so much worse. And so, man, I don't know. Now, as far as the last part about your question, is it too late to replace him in Deadpool 2, which is something we kind of talked about when the whole thing about what happened to him in university, allegedly assaulting a woman there. Maybe back then they could have done reshoots, but it would be super expensive. It's too late now. Deadpool 2 is coming out in May. You can't replace him at this point. But again, moving forward, I don't know if I can cast this guy. I want to. I think he's awesome. But look at this. Here we are. We're not sitting here talking about Deadpool 2. We're not sitting here talking about how awesome Deadpool 2 looks and how incredible how much we're looking forward to that movie. We're sitting here talking about one of its cast members calling in a fake bomb threat and putting people's lives in danger. That's what we're talking about. And do you want that if you're a producer of a movie? I don't think so. All right, guys, I'm sure some of you guys are going to have some comments you're going to want to drop on this, and we're going to get to your live questions here in just a bit. I already noticed that a whole ton of you guys are sending in live questions. But before we get to the live questions, you guys know we start up a new segment here called What We're Watching, where I ask you guys to jump on the Stardust app. If you don't have the Stardust app, they are one of the sponsors of the show now. Look in the description of this video. You'll find a link to it. To use the Stardust app to send in recommendations and reviews of things you're watching, TV shows, movies, trailers, and letting me know what you think. You guys have been sending in a bunch. Here's some of my favorite. Let's go over to the What We're Watching segment.
Years ago, George went out to look for his little brother. He ran from home. That's what happened. But George thought he was killed by other people. So pretty much George go out there trying to tax all these boats. He does in the process. 45 years later, here comes Meg. Meg comes out. Hey, where's George? Oh shit, he died. I need my revenge. So he goes out, killing, get all these fucking people, boats. In the meantime, he's getting big and strong, get steroids in the water, all kind of shit. So this fool out here ready to get revenge on y'all motherfuckers because you kick Jaws.
I already just saw the trailer for that new movie Meg with Jason Statham, and it looks so ridiculous. I gotta watch it because I like those kind of movies. I mean, he won't be able to use any of those karate skills against a shark in the water unless the shark comes out of the water and he fights it on land.
Hey, those are some pretty great submissions on Meg. Okay, but here's my thoughts on Meg. Look, I really didn't know what to expect from this. I mean, on its surface, you got Jason Statham in the lead, which kind of suggests maybe kind of cheesy, the fact that, you know, we hadn't really seen anything from it. I will say this, the trailer, if you saw my video reaction to the trailer, it's a step in the right direction. I like the trailer. I did. It didn't blow my socks off, but that's kind of okay too, because it is just a first trailer. And the first trailer usually isn't like the meatiest of the trailers. I'm going to wait to see the second trailer. So not blown away by it. It's not like I'm jumping through the roof out of excitement, but the trailer was a step in the right direction because I am kind of more curious about it now than I was before.
Community, and it is one of my favorite shows ever. I just think the writing is amazing. They do these concept episodes that just look so good. It's stylishly shot, the characters are great, the actors just bring so much life to the characters, and their chemistry is fantastic. There's so many different stories that are told, and they're just so funny and clever, and I would advise anybody give it a watch.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you, I only saw a couple of episodes of Community years ago, and I never liked it. I don't know what it was, it just wasn't for me, and I hear everybody else raving about it. But recently, because my wife Ann is such a huge Donald Glover fan, she started watching Community just to watch him in it. And you know what? I've been sitting down and watching them with her, and I'm kind of all, like, I'm on board with it now. I'm all on board with it. It is really actually quite funny. And the characters are great and the chemistry is good. And you know what? I don't know, maybe I just caught a couple of bad episodes of it before, but honestly, I support this recommendation. If you've never watched Community, go back, start it from season 1, episode 1. You'll find it on multiple streaming service. Give it a check. I mean, it's really quite good.
So the Post just came out on Blu-ray, and I was super happy to buy it because I loved the movie. One of my favorite movies of last year. I know it was one of yours as well. And I just want to know if you ever caught it on digital or rewatched it again, because it's my second time watching it, and I enjoyed it a bit more, I think, which is kind of weird, but because I really enjoyed it the first time around. But the performances are just excellent. Of course, Steven Spielberg, the greatest.
Dude, you're right. I completely love The Post. I thought it was one of the best movies of the year. No, I haven't had a chance to watch it on Blu-ray or digital yet. I went to go see it in theater about, I think, 3 times I went to go see it. You know, it's funny. A lot of people think, oh, Spielberg, Tom Hanks, Streep, so yeah, sure, it's going to be good, blah, blah, blah. But you forget to really appreciate just how good it is. It's masterfully directed, beautiful performances. It's a great, important, relevant story to our time. If you haven't seen The Post yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Check it out. It's great.
Hey everybody, it's one and only Tony Lamar, just coming out of the screening of Rampage here with my son. Carlitos, did you like the movie?
Definitely.
It was amazing. You guys gotta check it out this weekend. I'm gonna head home and I'm just gonna go play Rampage all night. So you guys check it out. See the movie, play the game.
Man, I am so glad you enjoyed it, because, you know, I put up my little reaction on Stardust before, and of course my review's gone up today, but, you know, it was so dumb and so stupid, but one of those films that embraces its own stupidity. And you know what? If they didn't embrace the stupidity, then by the time we get into the part where a giant gorilla and a giant lizard and a giant wolf are climbing buildings and destroying buildings, how could we have ever taken it seriously? The answer is we don't take it seriously because the movie set itself up perfectly for all that stuff to maximize the enjoyment. Look, it's not like as good as Jumanji, and it's not like going to be one of the top 10 or 15 best movies of the year, but I had a good time, I will admit. It's not a great movie, but I had a good time, and I think a lot of you guys will too.
Star Wars Han Solo. Oh my gosh, this movie looks so good, so good. We got hints of what the story is gonna be like. We got more dialogue from Alden Ehrenreich that's gonna be playing Han Solo. And at first I wasn't looking forward to this movie, but now I'm there opening day.
Solo trailer gone for like a real nice gritty and western feel. And for someone who grows up with these new Star Wars films at 15, I think it's really cool that they're now taking it into different kind of genres, like how they do with the Marvel movies.
Watched the new Solo trailer this morning. Yeah, I'm impressed. I was on the fence before, but I'll probably be there opening day now. Can't wait.
You know, when I did the John Campea Show right after that new Solo trailer dropped, I titled it Solo Trailer Resets Expectations, because like a lot of you guys are saying, wasn't really looking forward to it before, but we are now. And I was looking forward to it just because it's Star Wars, but I was never excited about this movie. I am now excited, and that's what a trailer's supposed to do, is to take you wherever you're at in your excitement level for an upcoming movie or anticipation level and move you up a notch or two. And I think across the board, that's what you see. Not everybody loved the trailer, no, but I think for the most part, you're seeing that this trailer moved people's excitement needle up towards the more excitement. It worked for me, it worked for a lot of you guys, and I know a lot of the rest of you guys, it worked for you guys as well. All right, guys, that will do it for this installment of What We're Watching. Guys, keep sending in those reviews and reactions. Make sure you grab the Stardust app. Look into the description of this video. I've got a link to it right there. Make sure the first thing you do when you get it is follow me at John Campea there, and then send in your reactions and reviews, just making sure you tag me on the screen at John Campea. And your next homework assignment, guys, is watch Rampage. And when you see Rampage, get on the Stardust app, tell me your review and your reaction to it, and I'm going to put together a collage of some of my favorite reactions from you guys for next week. So now, let's get back to the live show. All right, and now let's get into the actual live questions you guys have been sending in. Let's jump to it. We've got about 10 minutes here, so let's get through as many as we can. The first live question comes to us from Ben Rayner, who saw Clueless last night. Rudd has not aged. No kidding. Anne loves this movie. She's got it on all the time. And every time I see that movie and I walk past it, I'm like, how the hell does Paul Rudd still look the way he looks? Like he's sacrificing baby pelicans and drinking their blood in the red moonlight or something. He's made some sort of pact with a demonic presence in the world, I think, because that dude has not aged a day in like 25 years. It's nuts. All right, James Belanco writes, hey, I just want to say thanks for the show. Thanks so much, James. Thank you for being here, man. Alexander Helmer writes, Leafs Game 7 ticks or Thanos hot toy? Oh, no, Leafs, guys, screw Thanos. I mean, are you kidding me? First of all, if the Leafs ever can get to a Game 7 of playoffs, that's great. But yeah, screw that. I'll take that. Look, if you told me, give me the option. I can have the Leafs win the Stanley Cup, but if the Leafs win the Stanley Cup, it means there's never going to be another MCU movie again. I'm taking the Leafs Stanley Cup. Just being honest with you. Just being honest with you. Benny95 writes, so much talk about where the Soul Stone is, but what if Thanos already has it from the start? Maybe his planet gets destroyed, trying to defend it, etc. And that's a great point, Benny. This is exactly why I have not engaged in the speculation about where the Soul Stone is, because it ultimately really doesn't matter. We've been given no context, but that's why I don't care about how many stones are in the gauntlet in this shot versus how many stones are in the gauntlet in that shot. Until we have context, there's nothing to speculate about, and that's why I myself haven't been engaging in those speculations much. Dakota Barber writes, I think it's great Infinity War has outsold the last 7 MCU movies combined. This movie will certainly make a lot of money. Movie's getting closer, 15 days. I mean, the excitement level is there. You know, for so long, Avengers Infinity War was that movie that was coming someday. Well, someday is now. It's here. We're within a couple of weeks of this thing opening, and the excitement is really building with everybody. I cannot wait. Alexander Helmer writes, Silence of the Lambs hasn't aged. Hopkins is amazing. You're right. That is one of those movies that you can watch almost any year and a decade, and it never feels like it ages. It is a brilliant movie, and I believe Hopkins might have won his Academy Award for that movie. I could be wrong. He was at least nominated, but I think he might have won his Academy Award for that movie as well. If you haven't seen the original Silence of the Lambs, by all means, you're robbing yourself. Go watch it. Kyle B. writes, able to catch Legion Season 2, Episode 1. Thoughts? Honestly, I hated it. I did. However, keep in mind, I hated the first episode of Season 1, too. I hated the first episode of Legion. And then I got back on board with it, and I love the rest of the season. So I love the rest of Legion Season 1. So I was really excited to watch this, and I thought, you know what, they're so concerned about being trippy and so concerned about style. I feel like they're forgetting about substance. But whatever, I hated the first episode of Season 1, so I'm not going to be deterred. I didn't like the first episode of Season 2, but the same could be said of Season 1, so I am not going to be deterred. I'm still looking forward to the next episode. Let's see. Sam Fisher writes, I want a Kennedy TV show with the political intrigue of House of Cards, time jumping of This Is Us, and the bootlegging of Boardwalk Empire. That's a fascinating idea. And I think there might have been a movie about the Kennedys called Camelot, but see if you can get the name, just call it Camelot or something. That sounds like a really good idea, Sam. I'm totally on board for that idea. I love that. The political intrigue of Hearts of Cards, the time jumping of This Is Us, and the bootlegging aspect of Boardwalk Empire. I love the idea. I'm all on board. Betty95 writes, should Star Wars keep digitally recreating actors? Well, it all depends on, what the story calls for. Look, you can't do Rogue One. You can't do Rogue One without Grand Moff Tarkin. That would make no sense. Especially when you understand Grand Moff Tarkin's role in the Galactic Empire at that time and his role with the Death Star. It just wouldn't make any sense. It would be jarring not to have Grand Moff Tarkin there. But that's an example of where the story called for the character to be there. So it really all depends. You can't do a major significant character that's going to get a lot of screen time. You can't do that. But if there's an odd shot here or there where it's like, this just doesn't make any sense unless we recreate this one character digitally, then you don't do it. But if the story calls for it, then you do it. It all depends on what the story calls for. Murray For Us writes, I skimmed through the 2-hour companion video Tuesday, but I didn't see my question there. Oh, it's there, Murray. I know it's there. So anyways, I wanted to ask have you seen the movie Flight of the Navigator? Oh, of course. That's one of those movies, Flight of the Navigator, that most people my age remember watching as a little kid, watching Flight of the Navigator. It was one of those movies. A lot of movies have action, but they fail to instill a sense of adventure. Flight of the Navigator had that sense of adventure. And I find today, Ready Player One did it because Steven Spielberg is the greatest director of all time, but I find today a lot of even very good action films don't know how to instill that spirit of adventure to the audience. And Flight of the Navigator was absolutely one of those films that you just felt like you were on an adventure watching it, And that's one of the reasons why I remember it so fondly. Anthony C. writes, what do Americans get wrong about Canadians? That's a good question. I mean, the biggest thing, of course, is I can't tell you how many times I've met somebody down here in the States and they say, oh, you're from Canada. Do you know Bobby? Yeah, because Canada is a country of 17 people. You do realize geographically how much bigger the United States Canada is, right? We are a lot of people spread out over a really big country. But yeah, I seriously, at least 20 times I've had people say, oh, you're from Canada. Do you know this guy named Roy Miller? It's like, yeah, because all Canadians live within one square box. That's the one thing I find that happens more than anything else. Other than that, no, Americans have they don't have a very good understanding of Canada, but they don't get a lot of big things wrong about Canadians in general. So yeah, there's that. Adamus95 writes, someone please edit Shut Up Meg into the trailer. We talked about that on the show the other day for the new Jason Statham movie, Meg. Somebody's got to edit in when Jason Statham's moving his lips to take a Peter Griffin sound clip and just put Shut Up Meg as Griffin's. That would break the internet if somebody were to do that. Anthony C. writes, what's your favorite Canadian city to visit? Well, home is Hamilton. So I love that. I think my favorite Canadian city to visit is probably Vancouver or Montreal. Montreal is ridiculously a beautiful city too. So Montreal and Vancouver are very, very different cities. One's East Coast, one's West Coast, but you can't go wrong with visiting either of them. And of course, Toronto, but I grew up basically in Toronto, so it's hard for me to say that one is visiting. Celtic LJB33 writes, only have 277 more episodes of Supernatural to go, so you're getting caught up. There you go. Get into Supernatural, guys. It's totally, if you have never watched it, just go back, start binging it. Because the show's on its 13th season, so this is a great show to binge because you're not going to run out of episodes to binge for quite a while. Let's see. Dark Knight 46K writes, rewatching all Marvel movies before Infinity War, finished Thor, and I must admit I was completely wrong about. Flat out brilliant film. Other than Man of Steel, I have constantly argued that the most underrated comic book film other than Man of Steel is the original Thor film, directed by the brilliant Kenneth Branagh. That, to me, the first Thor is a top 10 all-time comic book movie. It is the most underrated that movie is great. Just absolutely great. And thank you for sharing that, Dark Knight. I'm glad you had a chance to watch that again. Jordan McCoy writes, calling it now, Infinity War will beat The Force Awakens opening weekend record. Not by a huge margin, predicting a debut of 250 plus million. Hard to doubt MCU's widespread success at this point. Yeah, but here's the look. First of all, it's still not selling as many tickets as The Force Awakens. But what I get afraid of here is that people saying, oh, it's going to make 300 million. Oh, it's going to make this. It's going to break The Force Awakens record. Here's the thing. What I'm afraid of is that when it inevitably doesn't break The Force Awakens record, and maybe it does, but let's say it doesn't, then we're setting up that people, there are people out there. This movie could be the second biggest opening weekend of all time. Can make like $230 million opening weekend, right? And there are going to be people out there going, oh, what went wrong? I guess it underperformed. That's a phrase people love using, underperformed. Oh, I guess it underperformed. What are you talking about? It's the second biggest opening of all time. Yeah, but it wasn't the biggest. Like, I just know there are going to be asshats out there who are going to try to spin if Infinity War doesn't break The Force Awakens records. There are people out there who are going to try to spin it. Oh, failure for Marvel. It's a failure. It should have, like, ugh. And that's what I'm a little bit afraid of, to be honest with you. Haskell 420 writes, hey, John, I bet dinner in New York City that Black Panther opening weekend of 200 million. I won. My pal doubled down. He wins. We're even. I win. I get 2 dinners in New York City. I bet Infinity War opens to over 265 million. Seeing this, I'm giddy. I don't know, man. I think most tracking has it between 200 and 225. Now, we've seen several examples of when the original tracking gets exceeded, and that could happen here. Remember, it still hasn't sold as many advance tickets as The Force Awakens did. We'll just have to wait and see how this all pans out. I'm still thinking 220. I'm thinking around 220, but that's just my guess. Curtis Lopez writes, how did you and Anne adopt Lily and Shadow? Well, Anne had Lily since Lily was a baby puppy. How we got Shadow was, and hold on one quick second. How we got Shadow was that one day I went into PetSmart, right, to get something for our dog, Lily. And I saw, I just happened to go in there on their adoption Sunday, right? It just happened to be the day that I went in there was their big adoption day. So I went in there and they had this little dog there that looked exactly like Lily. Only whereas all the other dogs were jumping up and down saying, hey, come adopt me. This little dog was cowering in a corner, shivering because she had just been dropped out. She had just been separated from her mother. Like her mother got adopted and now she was there alone. And she was shivering and my heart broke. And here's a picture of Lily and Shadow. Lily is the one sitting up. Shadow is the one with her head down there relaxing. Those are our dogs. Those are Lily and Shadow. And my heart broke. So we took the dog home. I said, we'll foster the dog because we can't have another dog. So we took Shadow home and I just I cannot let this dog be abandoned again. So we adopted Shadow and she's like the sweetest girl. So that's how we got our dogs. Anyway, here we are in John Campea Dog Talk. All right, let's keep going here. We'll go a few minutes over because we got a whole lot of questions from you guys today. Dark Smith writes, love your show. Don't get to watch live often, but you're an inspiration and the only news source I trust. Keep up the awesome work. And P.S. Iron Spider. Again with the Iron Spider. Thank you so much, Dark Sith, for sending that in. I really appreciate the comments, and you guys will never let me go on Iron Spider. Dark Sith follows it up with, also, I'm getting hyped for Solo after that trailer. Never asked for it, but I'm hoping they prove me wrong. The trailer got me thinking I might have been. And that's the thing that I mentioned even in the What We're Watching segment, is that what that trailer did, you could feel it across the internet, that the trailer moved the needle. The needle moved now towards excitement. And that's changed the narrative. The narrative on Solo has been skepticism. Understandably so, me too. But what that one trailer has done, it's changed the narrative from overall skepticism to some overall anticipation. So there's still some apprehension out there, understandably so, absolutely. But it has changed the needle and people are getting excited about it now. Benny95 writes, read somewhere that Infinity War takes place 4 years after Guardians 2. How does this work for a Guardians 3 movie? Seems like a long time between films. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how true that is. I've heard about that too, but I've never bothered to look into it because it's never really mattered. But I don't know. I'll have to ask James Gunn. Let's ask James Gunn. See, have you guys heard much about that? If so, what are your thoughts and theories on this whole Guardians 2 to 3 thing, the time lapse, all that kind of stuff? Jump into the comments section. Let me know what you guys think. Phil Lee, Anne's chicken adobo or mom's pasta? Not my mom makes good pasta. My mom makes good pasta. My grandmother, my nonna, my Italian grandmother, she makes pasta to die for. That trumps everything. I'll take Anne's chicken adobo over my mom's pasta, but not over some of my mom's other dishes. I love mom's home cooking. I really do. Marcus Walker writes, "Hey John, greetings from the UK. Just wanted to give something in return for constantly giving us a thoroughly entertaining show every day and being such a nice guy. All the best." Well, thank you so much, Marcus. It's great to have you guys here, and I love the fact that we get to get together here like this every day and just talk about movies. It's really exciting for me. So thank you so much for the kind words, man. Adam Griffin writes, "If you haven't, watch Honor the Giant HBO. I have been so excited for that Honor the Giant HBO documentary movie. We talked about the trailer on the show a couple times. Haven't had a chance to sit down and watch the documentary. I believe it just debuted last night. I'm so excited for this. I mean, the life of Honor the Giant has always fascinated me, and I've watched other little pieces about him before, and cannot wait to watch that, man. Make sure you schedule yourself to watch it too. All right, last 2 questions. And by the way, guys, I know there's still a bunch of live questions you've sent in. Don't worry about it. I am going to take all the live questions that got sent in that I don't have time to address here today, and they're going to be answered on tomorrow morning's companion video. Keep your eyes open for that. It will be on that video tomorrow. So the last 2 questions today. Maka Andrew writes, "It's 1:30 a.m. in Sydney, Australia, and I specifically stayed up just to thank you for all you do in the online movie community. You truly are a swell guy." Thank you so much, man. I've always wanted to visit Australia. I mean, the giant flying fox bats scare the hell out of me, but I've always wanted to visit Australia. So thank you so much for staying up late and sharing that with me, man. Angie V writes, "After the trailer and how well he delivered his lines, I think Alden's going to do a really good job portraying a younger, less cynical Han." And here's the thing. What I saw from, look, I've always thought Alden Ehrenreich was going to do a good job because I think he's a very good actor already. That being said, I'm happy to see, I like what I saw from him in the trailer, but let's not get too excited about it yet. It is a small sample size. Now, I've been on the Alden Ehrenreich train right from the beginning. I was really excited when I heard they cast him because I already think he's a very good actor. But let's not get too excited over, such a small sample size of what we've seen in the trailers. They are positive and it's good. I just don't want to get myself, too worked up about such a small sample size just yet. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Listen, if you haven't done so already, take a second, click on that subscribe button. And by the way, guys, once you subscribe, click that little bell button too to make sure you get notified of all the new videos here. We got tons of content going up every day. We got almost 3 hours of content a day goes up here on the John Campea Show, and most of it is submitted by you guys. Thank you so much for that. Also, guys, make sure you follow me on social media. You can find my Twitter handle right there, simply @JohnCampea. And guys, listen, if you enjoy my programming, the people that keep these programs on the air are my Patreon supporters. Do me a favor, just go on over to www.patreon.com/JohnCampea. Find out what it means to be a Patreon supporter. Find out how being a Patreon supporter keeps these shows on the air, and then also find out what benefits there are to being a Patreon supporter, like audio-only podcasts, the Facebook groups, some behind-the-scenes videos, things like that. Check that out, and then maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine. I'm just thrilled and honored that you guys are here being a film fan with us. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today. Don't forget, a little bit later this afternoon at 2 p.m., we've got Open Mic, where it's all just open live questions. Make sure you come back and join us then. I got my review of Rampage going up here in full in just a couple hours. Keep your eyes open for that. So that'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name is John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.